Welcome back to the V Movement. Today, we are kicking off a mini podcast series for the next 8 weeks where we are focusing on topics related to the menopause transition, post-menopause phase of life. In this menopause series, our goal is to provide education and insights to help you navigate this often challenging part in life with a greater understanding.
There's a lot of information out there as research is finally starting to give women's health more spotlight, but it can be a bit overwhelming. It's difficult to figure out what is actually helpful and true as there's so many different companies, influencers, and different people recognizing the menopause market. There's a lot to unravel as we continue to learn more each day, and we are learning right along with you.
Yeah, so join us as we sift through some of these conversations and research that's coming out because understanding your body's changes really empowers you to make more informed choices for your health and your well being. Welcome to the V Movement, the podcast that's all about pelvic health and getting the V's in your life moving. We are your hosts, Alison Craig, physical therapist specializing in pelvic health,
and Sarah Landis, physical therapist and board certified women's health specialist. In each episode, we delve into the world of pelvic health, exploring everything from the vulva and vagina to the vagus nerve.
Whether you're looking to enhance your understanding of pelvic health, seeking advice on common concerns, or simply want to join a community that embraces these important discussions, the V Movement is the place to be.
So tune in and let's embark on this journey together towards better pelvic health. Because when it comes to the V's in our lives, movement is key.
So we're going to kick off the conversation today by starting with a question. So wherever you're at, whether you're in your car, at home, listening, cleaning, whatever you're doing, I want you to take a moment to pause right now and notice what the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word menopause. And just notice, is there a person that you think of? Is there a story that comes to mind? Is there a body sensation maybe that attaches to it? If you are somebody who's been through menopause, have you noticed how your body might react to just hearing that word? And noticing, are these thoughts, sensations, feelings something that you feel good about, bad about, neutral? So that was a lot. So I want to pause here and just check in. Sarah, is there a word or what was the first thing that came to mind when you heard the word menopause or when you hear it?
Oh, I think not long ago, it felt like it was so far off. You'd be like menopause, I'd be like, that's like my grandma, right? It was so far away from anything that I was thinking of. And as you know, we're going through all of this different education and classes and reading this research. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's actually happening like sooner than later. And I just turned 40 this year. Well, last year, technically, 2024. And given the information that I've gained, and that's why we're so excited to share so much of this with you, I am so excited. I just can't wait. So when I think of going through this menopause transition, yes, it's a transition in life and all of these different things. But I truly feel like this is going to be the best decade. So I'm kind of excited. How about you, Allison? How do you feel about it?
Well, when I first, think of the word menopause before having any of this education and really diving into this, that I kind of thought about older people, noticing my mom going through that transition and it's kind of scary, like all the mood swings and hot flashes and, you know, noticing how it's a confusing time in people's lives. And I think noticing the marketing and the typical stuff that comes out, oh, hot flashes and you're just drenched and horrible, again, mood swings. Those are the big things that I think about with menopause. And that's it. Like that was kind of just my thought. And like, oh yeah, it's when you're older, right? I'm 38, going to be 39. I still have plenty of time. I'm still having my cycle. So now shifting into all the education that we have, it's like, oh, okay, if I feel more at least a little more aware of what's going on. And it may not necessarily change the symptoms that I'll be experiencing, but it can change my mindset and the way that I feel about it. So I would say before knowing this education, I was pretty like fearful and had a bad attitude about it. Like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the worst ever. Life is over, dramatic. But now going through this education, it's like, oh yeah, like actually, no, it's not that scary. There's plenty of challenges that are going to come, but having a better mindset and understanding of it as I'm noticing the changes in my body, even though, I'm 38, there are some changes that I'm noticing in my body and have been more in tune with that. Getting better about actually tracking my cycle and tracking my symptoms. That's not something that I've ever done before or paid attention to. So I think learning this again, knowing the education, I've definitely have shifted the way that word feels to me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think the
And
biggest thing too is that there people are talking about it. Talking to my mom about all of this, she was like, "Oh yeah, no one really talked about it." My friends and I, we had conversations, but we didn't really talk about it that much. And I feel like now you go onto any social media or anything like that, and maybe it's just because they're very much clearly targeting me, right?
they've got the algorithm.
They figured out the algorithm for me. But there's just so much more knowledge and education and communication about it.
Yeah, that's huge. And yeah, I wanted to flip the switch too and think about the word menstrual cycle and period. And the same thing, noticing, was there a story or a sensation or emotion that came up? If you can think back to when you were a kid and starting to learn about that, how was that experience? And did you get education on that? And how was that education? Just noticing the differences between the cycles of our life. What do you remember about learning about the menstrual cycle and how you felt about it before experiencing that?
Yeah, it's interesting to think of now. Um, but I remember, I guess it was probably 5th grade, right? When you
Mhm.
get that first education, and we got like a period kit,
Oh,
and they gave us this like really cool, it was like, I just remember it was purple and turquoise, okay? Like, that's where I'm at with it. Um, and it had, it didn't have any tampons, I don't think, but it had pads and different size pads and shapes of pads and different educational pamphlets and just a ton of information in it. I remember feeling like so cool and old. Like, oh man, this is like a rite of passage. Like and I didn't start my period until I think it was the summer between 7th and 8th grade. But it was just like I'm in the cool club now kind of a thing. Um but also remembering like that fear of like, oh gosh, when is it before you start your period, it's like, "Oh gosh, when is it gonna happen?" You hear these horror stories about bleeding through everything. You know what I mean?
mhm.
And the truth is the other day I bled through my pants and I'm 40. So, right, these fears continue. It just
Mhm.
changes. How about you,
Right. Yeah.
Allison? Was it pretty good education or
I can't say that it was, and maybe I didn't pay attention, but it was same thing in 5th grade. Yeah, we had the talk where, the boys went into their own room, the girls were in their room.
Mm,
Boys can't learn about the menstrual cycle, and then we don't get to know what the boys learn about. But I remember being, and of course, I guess I am a more fearful mindset to start with anything. Um, I was afraid of the tampons and thought that they would hurt really bad when you used them, and so I was really afraid of that. And yeah, I didn't have any friends who went through it at that time, and I don't I don't really recall, I'm the oldest sibling, so I didn't have any older siblings to, help guide me through that either. And so a lot of like what I learned was through my friends and what they were experiencing. And I was a late bloomer, so I also I think was like 8th grade is when I went through when I had my cycle. And so just all that lead up, like you said, the uh, just learning from my friends and
Right.
knowing that, I can't say that I don't think we got like a cool kit or anything. Um, but yeah, like I don't think I did get good education about what it was. It was kind of more like a, it's good to have your period because that means you're not pregnant, but practice abstinence and like all those. I mean, that's a whole other ball game. But
Whole other
yeah,
topic, yeah.
I didn't really have a positive mindset about, at least about, yeah, menstrual cycles, but I at least had some education about what it was. And like you
Yeah.
said, like kind of the to right to womanhood and all the things. So yeah, now shifting and as I'm older, like, okay, I do appreciate my menstrual cycle, even though I have more cramps as I'm getting older for some reason. Didn't
Mhm.
experience it when I was younger. So I was like, oh, I have a high pain tolerance. And then I was like, oh, I actually didn't experience cramps at all. Now I know what cramps are. I know what back pain associated with my menstrual cycle is. So yeah, yeah, that was my experience with education, and I'm still learning so much, right? Like you said,
Oh,
I'm still learning about the cycle. Like I've been reading Jen Gunter's book, Blood.
oh,
Uh,
I haven't read that. Putting it on the
yeah,
list.
it's I mean, the list is never ending, but yeah, the first chapter is just filled with just understanding what is actually like the process of what's happening with the cycle and why we have it, and just how us as humans are so unique compared to other mammals. I think, there's very few animals that actually have a cycle like we do. So it's shifted my mindset too on like my cycle and just knowing and better understanding.
And how amazing the human body is.
Hmm.
It's
How
just out of control.
it is, and especially for those of us vulva owners, it's just even more fascinating that we can, produce life and all the things that go along with it.
Yeah, and I think you bring up an interesting point though too. So I have a son who just went through 5th grade. They don't call it sex ed. They call it something education, health education or something like that. And thank goodness um, for the education that they're given now. But they didn't, in this case, they did not separate them, right?
Oh,
And poor guy, I mean, I'm his mom, right? So I am talking to him about all of these things on the regular and changing a tampon in front of him, poor guy, and in front of my kids. And right, just having those conversations of like, this is really what it is. This is this is part of the life, right? This is
mhm,
it's all inclusive. And so just trying to have more open conversations, but I also think that penis owners need to know more about it so that they can have an understanding of what is going on and how their hormones shift and transition also. It's not
mhm,
just a vulva owner thing, right? It's a human thing. Um, and I think that's important.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, there's so many, like, Key and Peele, they have such a funny, have you seen that one?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a good video of Key and Peele, giving the menstrual cycle education to a group of penis owners, and it's so funny, and I was like, "Man, yeah, that should be," men should also have that, but
Yeah.
you meet people where they're at.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the other
Exactly.
piece. You can't force it down their throats, but,
No, no.
yeah, yeah. So that's really cool that they're already starting that, at your son's school yeah, show that it's
Education.
human, it's something that happens, and it's part of the process. It's not something to be, behind the curtain, like, "Oh, only women have to have this knowledge," like, no, this is everybody. So that's really, really cool. It's nice to hear
Yeah.
that things are transitioning.
Yeah. But I think one thing that is still lacking, and not that they need to be diving into this in 5th grade, but is the menopause conversation, right?
Mhm.
I think that education of understanding the life cycle, because I was never taught anything in school. Were you?
Oh, absolutely not. No. And
Yeah.
in PT school, that's not a thing. I mean, we barely
No.
talk about pelvic floor. I think they are starting to do it more now, but yeah, so absolutely not recognizing like menopause is huge. There are so many more symptoms.
It's like a decade of our lives
Yeah, or more. I mean, because 'cause we're
or
going through
more.
that perimenopause. It can be a third to a half of our life that we are experiencing at least that transition, and then even more so because, perimenopause can start 8 to 10 years depending on who you talk to. Your symptoms can start 8 to 10 years prior to you even going through that
Actual menopause.
menopause, post-menopause phase. And I think that's a big piece that I've, learned more too. Like, oh, I could be going through that. My mom went through menopause at 41. So,
Mm,
there is a potential
genetic.
genetic component that I might be going through menopause a lot earlier.
Well, Allison, thank you so much for sharing just a little bit about your period journey and perimenopause moment. But the truth is, and this is what I think is so, so, so important, is that it's a collective experience. And even though people are hopefully they're talking about it more, but ev- everyone goes through it. And it might look differently for everyone, and it will, but everyone goes through it in some shape or form.
Right.
So we're here
Hopefully. I
to,
mean,
yeah, and that's where we're just here to have those conversations out loud.
mhm, absolutely. Yeah. So if you guys want to share anything, share your menopause journey or any questions that you might have for our further episodes, we are going to be picking a topic each episode, going a little bit more into the intricacies of it. Also, we are going to be kicking off our actual 8-week deeper dive menopause class series with a focus on more of the fitness wellness side of things. So if you are interested, please sign up to get on our wait list to get more information. Link will be in the show notes. In the meantime, you feel free to email us at info@thevmove.com, or if you're on Instagram, you can do a direct message. And if you want to share a little bit about your menopause journey, or you have a question that you would like us to talk about in one of these menopause series, that would be great. We would love to hear from you and get an idea of what people are really interested in.
Thanks for tuning in.
Until next time, keep the V's in your life moving. The information shared in this podcast by Sarah, Alison, and our guest interviews are intended for educational, entertainment, and informational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. While we are licensed physical therapists, we are not your personal physical therapists, and no patient-provider relationship is formed. If you have any health concerns or questions, please consult your medical provider. The information on this podcast or any of our other platforms is to use at your own risk.